my biggest challenge right now is balancing my creativity as moving or looking for different avenues to generate revenue that hopefully are long term, and doing just the projects that I want to do. But I'm excited each day because one is the challenge, and two is I am getting to pursue some of those individual projects.
Welcome to the Saginaw Art Museum podcast. The COVID-19 pandemic is altering the usual routines of people around the globe and around the block. As practices of social distancing and self-quarantine are implemented, artists are finding new ways to adapt to the changing landscape. In this series, Art at Home, we have conversation with artists and creative-minded individuals to understand the way these unusual times are impacting lives. John Bellsmith is a graphic artist out of Bay City, Michigan. As a small business owner serving small and large clients, Bellsmith is both employee and employer. Now he is navigating what it's like to have his drawing table and pencils at home. We also discuss the changes and challenges anticipated in the future. This interview was recorded April 13th, 2020. John Bellsmith is with us today. And John, you are an illustrator out of Bay City, Michigan. And for our listeners, tell us a little bit about the work that you do on a typical basis.
On a typical non-COVID quarantine basis?
That's right.
I'm a graphic artist, here in Bay City, Michigan, and I have a studio, and I work with clients on different designs, marketing materials, and some of my own projects. Mainly cartooning would be where my forte.
And this is something that you've been doing for a good long time. It's not a new endeavor for you.
No. I've worked in one way or another, whether it was for another company doing artwork, and for probably for 30 years since I was in my early 20s. And then I started Bellsmith Graphic Design 12 years ago.
And you're employed by yourself. You're an independent small business owner and an artist who's making his living off of his art.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. This is kind of a weird time to ask that question because of the fact of the situation that we're in. But you're right. On a normal day, then I've been very, very fortunate to be able to be in a community that's fairly small, but still be able to have what I think is a successful business. And I know I've outlasted a lot of other people that have started it. And so I'm not sure that they were smarter than me, or if it's, but really, now that I've got a taste of it, I really don't want anything else.
Well, tell us a little bit about how a life has changed since COVID-19 has come onto the scene. Typically, you're working in your own studio space. Maybe just describe how your physical setup has changed now that you are not in that studio space. Describe what that space might have been like and where you're at now.
The space that I'm normally in, which is one that I thoroughly enjoy and you've been to, it has a corner view of Center Avenue and Washington Avenue, for those that are familiar with Bay City. Lots of windows. A lot of my toys are in there. There's a lot of artwork including artwork that's up from friends that inspire me. My vinyl collection is in there. I have a drawing table, as well as having a workstation, which is computer-based. I really don't draw on the computer at all, so I'm old school, so I'm at the table. And just the light and the atmosphere for that, I definitely really miss. But I was able to set up something at home. Where I'm talking to you right now is a drawing table that has some light, looks out a window. I can watch what my neighbors are getting for breakfast. And, it's kind of doubling as a workstation with a monitor and a laptop. And that kind of gets pushed aside when I have the opportunity to do some drawing.
Yeah, so you've been able to translate at least a little bit of your studio space to where you're at home right now.
Yeah, I brought some of my friends, my colored pencils, my pens. I made a list of things that I guess if a fire was to hit, what am I going to grab the most? But it was kind of fun to go through the process. I always like setting up creative environments. I just always have. And to be able to sit down knowing that I was going to have a day to really come and do this and test out what pens I wanted to use, what type of paper and boards that I wanted to bring home, and what was going to be considered, I guess the key word right now is essential. I've only gone back to the studio. I only live 6, 7 blocks from my studio. So in all reality, I could be working from there. I'm not an essential business, but I also have very few people that I would come in contact with. But to me, it's important that I do my social responsibility and stay at home. And so I brought my essentials home, and all of my friends are here. I draw with me.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've been impressed with in our conversations before is some of your ability to create and be creative with simple materials that are very accessible. Do you find that that's something that's really been helpful during this time? You talked about that sort of grab bag if there's a fire. This has been sort of like a prepared fire in some sense, where you had a little bit more preparation to prepare for leaving your studio space and transitioning into your home. But tell me a little bit about how that sort of approach to your art has helped or not helped in this scenario.
There isn't anything that has changed except for my environment, to be honest with you. I'm really bare bones to begin with. I have certain paper that I like to draw on. I have certain pencils that I like to use. I have a small tracing box that I will use to refine my drawings. I think I've moved so much over the years that I've learned how to be able to have it condensed. Now, my wife would probably say that I brought home more than I needed, and for the most part, she's probably right. But I'm pretty good about getting a to-go package regarding my art stuff. So really, that hasn't changed for me at all. I can't think of anything that was changed in that way.
I suppose that it's a bit of comfort, being able to make that bit of transition. One thing that I was curious about, how has your business scenario been impacted? Obviously, you're able to use the same pencils and pens right now, but from a business perspective, tell me a little bit more about the way that your life has been impacted here.
Well, normally I tell people, I thoroughly enjoy being self-employed. And it isn't so much for freedom. People think, oh, you're self-employed, and that means you get to go off and play and do this and movies in the middle of the afternoon. And somewhat of that is true because it gives me freedom. I think it gives me flexibility is what it gives. Flexibility so that, yes, I can take time away, but I also have to pay it back. Now, right now, my workload is almost non-existent. To be honest with you, I have a client that I am doing a video conference with this afternoon, and I think this is the start of our 4th week. I've kind of started to lose count of this stay at home. And besides that, it has been one other client, and that is a monster dip in my income. And I would say that it's definitely created anxiety because as self-employed, that's where all of my income comes from. And my wife, the type of work she does, is she's not able to do that at all as well. And so it's definitely taken a hit.
This is a little bit of a picture of how interconnected the community is. From what you're describing, your work is dependent on clients that have customers, and customers have to attend those businesses or participate in those businesses for them to sort of be able to provide you with work.
Yeah, and it's not even a portion of the concern isn't even so much the way it is right now, because this afternoon, ironically, after us doing this interview, I'll be applying for unemployment as self-employed, which is nice that that's going to be there. But I have a bulk of my business are small businesses, whether they be bars or dog grooming places. There's restaurants, and in some of those, which really kind of it makes me very sad, will probably not survive if this goes much longer as far as the businesses being closed. And then the other side, I have corporate businesses that are much larger that I'm able to do more of the marketing for. But as you can imagine, there's going to be a recovery stage when they come back. And so I'm guessing their marketing budget's going to be very low. So even as I come back, it's going to take some time. And at least even if it does get back to what it was before. So I'm having to look at some different things to supplement my income.
Yeah, it is, imagine, a pretty unique position to be in, trying to think through not only what's happening right now, but also what's to come in the future, and a lot of the predictability in our current time, as we're at home and making art at home, but also looking towards the future and how to restructure what that might look like.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's, it's true for myself. It's true for, not just creative types. It's true for anybody that's got a small business, especially that their entire income is based around the success of that business. But probably more for the creative, it's a little bit more of a struggle, I think, because of the fear. Creativity, to a certain extent, I think, is disposable in that well, look at the schools. It's one of the very first things that's cut. I think that's open, not to the extreme what it has been with other situations, but yeah, it's a concern.
Along those lines, are you finding that you're engaged in other non-client work, some personal artistic or creative endeavors that are helping you maintain a level of sanity during this period?
Yeah, I would say so. I kind of figured we would talk about this subject, and I have friends that I see their posts on Facebook that they're bored. I am not even close to bored. I'm still running hours during the day. I also have friends that are able to really delve into their creativity. Part of the reason why is that they have full-time jobs that they'll be returning to. Having to look at my creativity, not just on how I can enjoy it, just to keep the creativity alive, but also in a way to generate revenue. And my biggest challenge right now is balancing my creativity as moving or looking for different avenues to generate revenue that hopefully are long term, and doing just the projects that I want to do. But I'm excited each day because one is the challenge, and two is I am getting to pursue some of those individual projects.
I think that's an interesting balance that you have to strike between what art is sort of for personal fulfillment and what art is going to pay the bills, and how much does that overlap? Do you think that's a pretty good assessment?
Oh yeah. It's very easy to, and again, it's extremely easy to lose sight of what is an essential dollar sign and just get completely lost in your projects. For me, at times, switching tracks on that it shows I need self-discipline, which I don't always have the best of, because when I delve into the projects, I'm like, this is so much fun, or I always have ideas going. I'm not necessarily a heavy technology skilled person, so I have Post-it notes all over the walls that are projects that I've always wanted to work on, or projects that I think are of value. And so kind of going through those, and when I do them, I'll be on one and they start to kind of rabbit hole as to what else this can lead to. And, my wife is very supportive because she's always said that I'm always going to be able to make money with my art and my creativity. So it's nice to have that kind of support.
Just maybe in wrapping up here, what's one or two things that you are most looking forward to when we do start to have some of the restrictions lifted and people feel a little bit more comfortable getting together or being in the same place? As you alluded to earlier, the recovery process for the crisis is likely to be impacting different people in different ways. But on the optimistic side, what's something that you're looking forward to?
I am looking forward to live music, going out and seeing live music. I'm kind of an introvert, so I don't do a whole lot socially, but there's been some relationships that I think have grown and solidified with this time and through Facebook and social media that I'm looking forward to connecting with those people in person. I think that's going to be really, really cool. But also getting back, I've got yourself that I'm looking forward to our lunches. I have extremely creative friends that continue to keep me fueled with my creativity, like Sean Gallagher and Jake Fosgett, who's a cartoonist out of Detroit. that I'm just looking forward to being out in the world and experiencing it out there. But I will miss the complete dedication to being able to just focus on projects and the art that I have.
Thank you for listening to the Saginaw Art Museum podcast. You can stay connected with the museum through our website and social media channels. We invite you to become a subscriber of this podcast or become a monthly contributor to the show to help us carry out our mission of providing art for all.